So VivaKi, what are we talking about? Nearly a year ago, started the restructure. We started this decentralization of what was known as the audience on-demand trading desk. We have now pretty much rolled that out globally. There's still a few markets where it's still happening. But the idea was, we saw it as fundamental that the skill sets of programmatic become part of the agency offering. And we couldn't see a way where those two things should not be together. So we've moved those people, we've moved that service layer into the agency, and now since then we've been really focusing on how we deliver the infrastructure to all of these agencies in a similar fashion. So we've created the VivaKi operating system, and within that we cover everything from tech evaluation globally. We have the AOD platform that has all the data from all of our partners live every day down to a creative level, from reporting insights, which if you're a global advertiser, to be able to look at how and where you're spending anywhere in the world up to date is really important. And actually today we just launched something called the Quality Index, which is really our response to the discussions around viewability and fraud, where one of the problems is you may want to work with a single partner like Integral Ad Science, but actually you could use 2 or 3 other people who would give you a whole load of different metrics. So what we wanted to do with Quality Index is we have a database of all the URLs where we advertise. We wanted to append maybe 4 or 5 different sources of metrics against each URL and create an aggregate score. So rather than be determined by one company, we're now creating an aggregate score, and the agencies can log into that platform, they can pull up the scores they're targeting, and then we upload the URLs straight into the DSPs. So I guess it's moved from verification to a planning tool in effect. So that's launched today. But really what we're seeing is a model, we're moving towards a model where you log into a single platform and all the different areas of infrastructure that you may need as a buyer are all in one place. So whether it's the Quality Index, whether it's the reporting and insights tool, whether it's all the information we have on technical partners, the DSP evaluations we've done, data partnerships, everything's in one platform, and that allows the buyer to, we're not getting every agency to replicate the same work over and over again. We can focus on that centrally, and hopefully, we deliver a better programmatic offering to our advertisers. Well, a meta DSP is something that people talk about a lot, and there are people out in the market talking about it a lot. We like to be a bit more honest and realistic about it. I would say what it is the collection of data from multiple DSPs that we can then act on the insights from it. So we collect data from all of the largest media players you would imagine, all of the major DSPs, from DoubleClick, from Atlas, from Amazon, from Run, from Turn, all these guys. All that data is aggregated. We then act on that data. So we have global benchmarking of how different DSPs are performing. We have inventory benchmarks and so on. So that's one part of it, pulling the data out of these tech partners. This idea of the sort of Meta DSP, Uber DSP is really based on you writing one set of commands, if you like, to set your campaign parameters, and that information being pushed back into the DSPs. The truth of the matter is there is only 2 or 3 DSPs that can actually allow you to write into their tech. So this whole debate about read-write access is one that people blur the edges. I think that is where we are going to have to go, because at any one time you may now have to work with 5 or 6 DSPs in certain circumstances, and you don't want to be logging into 5 or 6 different platforms. So I think we're certainly, with our work, we are definitely moving towards how quickly can we set up our campaign in one system and then have it pushed out to multiple DSPs. I think that is the goal for a lot of people. But actually, physically, you can't do it with many DSPs at the moment. The topic of fraud and viewability, obviously incredibly hot topic. Advertisers are worried about it, publishers are worried about it. Everyone is now really looking to understand the problem better. I think advertisers really are looking to us as their, as people representing them to take all the steps we can to eliminate as much of this as we can. And you know, it's not a perfect science, but there are some pretty fundamental steps that you can take to minimise fraud. And the first thing is where do you fish? If you fish in the biggest pond of inventory that's available out there, then there is a good chance that you're going to expose yourself to inventory which is very long tail, often full of fraud. If you're doing that, you know, that is your first mistake. Within Audience on Demand, we've always said, look, we don't want to go fishing in those ponds. Let's just avoid that inventory altogether. After we've done that, it's about layering on tech to evaluate the impressions, and then it's about humans checking what the tech is doing. And you combine that all up, and again, with the launch of the Quality Index, we use a number of different suppliers to help give us information about every URL we're looking at and every placement. If you do all of that, you can say to you can look an advertiser in the eye and say, look, we are doing everything we can to minimise this risk of fraud. The problem is, in the marketplace, not everyone is doing that, and not everyone has been doing that. And you know, there's been recent announcements from Dmexco and others where, you know, they're saying about how they're cleaning up their pools of inventory, and I think that's great. I'm glad they're doing it. I think they should have done it 2 years ago, but I think we're definitely seeing a trend towards that now.